In a desperate bid to keep his starving family alive, Belos infiltrated the human-controlled shipyard perched above Zenith's swirling orange clouds. His stolen uniform chafed as he slipped into the flow of mechanics, techs, and engineers from a dozen worlds. The Zenith orbital repair station sprawled across the sky, a monument to humanity's engineering prowess. Kilometer-long docking arms cradled battlecruisers, freighters, and luxury yachts in need of repair or refit. Belos's heart pounded as he reported for his first shift under false credentials. Belos focused on keeping his head down and blending with the motley crew of humans and aliens. He nearly jumped out of his exoskeleton when the ruthless overseer Thaddeus Rains stormed into the workshop for a surprise inspection. Rains's cold eyes swept the workers, but Belos evaded detection by ducking behind a hulking human mechanic. "Never seen you around, Greenie," the man said, blue eyes twinkling beneath wild blonde hair. "Name's Benjamin Bell. Welcome to the Nut House." Benjamin radiated a casual brilliance that unnerved Belos. Did he suspect the Vidian's secret? During a grueling shift repairing a battered freighter, an accident pinned Benjamin under a ton of twisted metal. Belos faced an impossible choice: maintain his cover or expose his engineering savvy to save his crewmate. In a blur of motion, Belos jury-rigged a salvage exoskeleton and lifted the debris off Benjamin. The human gaped at Belos. "You just saved my hide. Your secret's safe with me, pal." An unlikely friendship kindled over late-night repair jobs and tales of distant homeworlds. Then a ghost drifted into their repair bay, a bleeding-edge human warship crippled by exotic weapons fire. Belos's blood ran cold. This was his people's handiwork. As Rains barked orders, Belos realized a single misstep would doom humanity's chances in the brewing conflict. He had to fix what his kind had broken, or worlds would burn. As Belos worked feverishly on the warship's quantum drive, sweat beaded on his brow. His nimble fingers danced across the alien circuitry, rerouting power and splicing in Vidian components with practiced ease. But even his skill couldn't prevent the inevitable power surge that ripped through the ship like a tidal wave. Alarms screamed, and warning lights strobed as the drive core shuddered violently. Belos cursed under his breath, scrambling to stabilize the cascading failures. In the chaos, his hood slipped back, revealing his angular Vidian features. Overseer Rains, drawn by the commotion, stormed into the repair bay. His eyes widened with rage as he spotted Belos. "You, saboteur!" he roared, jabbing a finger at the alien. "Security! Detain that man!" Armored guards surged forward, shock batons crackling. Benjamin leapt into their path, buying Belos precious seconds. "Run!" the human yelled, grappling with a guard. Belos dove into a maintenance duct, the hatch slamming shut behind him an instant before the baton struck. He scrambled through the claustrophobic tunnels, Benjamin's voice crackling over his comm. "I bought you some time, but Rains won't stop until he has you in irons. We need a plan." "I can fix the drive," Belos panted, "but not without Vidian tech. We'll have to scavenge parts from all over the station." "Oh, is that all?" Benjamin's chuckle held an edge of hysteria. "And here I thought this would be difficult." Over the next harrowing hours, Belos and a skeleton crew of sympathetic humans worked in secret, cannibalizing other ships for the components Belos needed. He worked like a man possessed, jury-rigging a hybrid solution that flew in the face of conventional human engineering. All the while, Benjamin led the security teams on a merry chase, distracting them with false trails and technical double talk. But Rains was relentless, locking down the station section by section. In a hidden corner of the docks, Belos made the final connection. The warship's power steadied as the quantum drive hummed back to life. Belos sagged with relief, a moment too soon. A klaxon blared and the ship shimmered, vanishing into thin air. In tweaking the power grid, they'd accidentally triggered its experimental cloaking device. "All hands, intruder alert," Rains's voice boomed over the PA. "The alien terrorist has stolen military hardware. Lethal force authorized." Belos and Benjamin gaped at each other in horror. Then a new alarm drowned out the PA, a proximity warning. A massive Vidian battle fleet dropped out of warp, weapons hot. "Attention, humans," a harsh voice crackled across all frequencies. You have abducted a citizen of the Vidian sodality. Return him at once or face annihilation. As accusations flew and tension skyrocketed, Belos wrestled with a terrible choice. He could give himself up, sparing the station Vidian retribution for his supposed kidnapping. Or he could risk everything on a near-impossible gambit. The sensors answered for him. A new contact appeared, or rather, a lack of one. The cloaked warship, navigating blindly with half-repaired systems, had drifted onto a collision course with the Vidian flagship. Belos met Benjamin's incredulous stare, a plan taking shape, a crazy, suicidal plan. Without a word, they sprinted for the nearest shuttle, a timer already ticking down in Belos's head. They nearly made it. Rains and an army of guards cut off their escape, weapons leveled. The overseer smiled cruelly. "Nowhere to run, scum! I'll hand you over to your alien friends." After a taste of human hospitality, Belos closed his eyes, preparing for the end. Instead, he heard the hiss of doors and a babble of panicked voices. The guards parted like a sea before Benjamin, who had the shuttle prepped and ready. "Get in!" he screamed, and Belos didn't hesitate. They blasted away from the station, the shuttle shuddering as the guards opened fire. "They'll never let us dock with the warship," Benjamin said grimly, hands flying over the controls. "Not while it's cloaked." "They don't need to." Belos strapped in, teeth gritted. "Get me close and I'll EVA over. You turn back, give them a story. Say I hijacked the shuttle. And leave you alone against a battle fleet? Not a chance." Benjamin met his eyes unblinking. "We do this together or not at all." With alarms shrieking and the Vidian fleet looming ahead, they shot into the void, two unlikely allies on a desperate mission to avert war. The shuttle arced towards the invisible dreadnought, Belos' eyes straining to glimpse any flicker of the cloaking field. The clock was ticking, the flagship growing in the view screen. They had minutes, perhaps seconds, before the collision that could ignite the greatest conflict the galaxy had ever seen. Belos whispered a prayer to gods he'd long abandoned and prepared to leap into the abyss. Belos's fingers trembled as he reached for the airlock controls. The shuttle shuddered, metal groaning under the strain of their desperate maneuver. Benjamin's face was a mask of concentration, sweat beading on his brow as he guided them towards the invisible warship. "There!" Belos hissed, catching a fleeting shimmer in the void. 3 degrees starboard!" Benjamin adjusted course, the shuttle's thrusters firing in short bursts. They edged closer to where the cloaked ship should be, relying on Belos's keen Vidian senses to detect the minute distortions in space. A bone-jarring impact rocked the shuttle. For a heart-stopping moment, Belos feared they'd miscalculated. Then the familiar hiss of a pressurizing airlock filled his ears. "We're in!" Benjamin whooped, relief etched across his features. They sprinted through the warship's corridors, finding themselves in a maze of flickering displays and sparking conduits. Belos's eyes widened as he took in the hybrid chaos of human and Vidian tech. "I've never seen anything like this," he murmured, fingers already dancing across a nearby console. Benjamin grinned. "That's why we make such a good team. Now let's save both our peoples from blowing each other to kingdom come." As Belos worked to stabilize the cloaking device, Benjamin's voice crackled over the ship's comm system. "Zenith Station, this is Benjamin Bell. We've boarded the warship and are attempting repairs. Please, hold your fire." Overseer Rain's face appeared on a nearby screen, twisted with fury. "Bell, you treasonous—" The feed cut off abruptly, replaced by a stern-faced woman with Admiral's insignia. "This is Admiral Janus Helios. You have exactly 2 minutes to explain yourselves before I order this ship reduced to atoms." Benjamin's eyes met Belos's. The Vidian nodded, focusing on rerouting power to critical systems, while his human partner outlined their audacious attempt. Helios listened impassively, her gaze flickering between Benjamin and the readout streaming across her screen. As the explanation concluded, she leaned forward. "Impressive work, gentlemen. Unorthodox, certainly, but effective. You may have just prevented an interstellar incident." A proximity alarm blared. Belos's heart sank as he saw a Vidian cruiser break formation, weapons powering up. "Admiral," he called out, "one of our ships is moving to attack." Helios's eyes hardened. "Then it seems your trial by fire isn't over yet. Prove your worth, Belos. Show us what that ship can do." Benjamin slid into the pilot's seat, hands hovering over unfamiliar controls. "I hope you're as good at weapons as you are at repairs, partner." Belos allowed himself a grim smile. "Let's find out." The cloaked warship danced through space, its experimental systems singing under Belos's touch. Benjamin's piloting was inspired, weaving through barrages of plasma fire with millimeters to spare. On the main view screen, the Vidian ambassador watched in stunned silence as the human-Vidian duo outmaneuvered her people's finest warriors. When the last shot faded and the attacking cruiser limped back to its fleet, a hush fell over the comm channels. Belos and Benjamin shared a weary, triumphant grin. Admiral Helios's voice cut through the silence. "Gentlemen, I believe it's time we had a long talk about the future." As they guided the battered warship back to Zenith Station, Belos felt the weight of possibility settle on his shoulders. He glanced at Benjamin, seeing the same mix of trepidation and excitement in his friend's eyes. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Together. The next months were a whirlwind of debriefings, negotiations, and frantic research and development. Belos found himself at the center of a storm, bridging two worlds that had teetered on the brink of war. Benjamin stood by his side through it all, a steady presence in the chaos. Now, as Belos strapped himself into the pilot's seat of their newly christened hybrid vessel, the Nexus, he marveled at how quickly everything had changed. The ship hummed with a blend of human and Vidian tech, a testament to what their peoples could achieve together. "Pre-flight checks complete," Benjamin called from the engineering station. "We're green across the board." Belos nodded, his fingers dancing across the controls. "Initiating launch sequence. All crew, prepare for departure." The docking clamps released with a resounding clang, and the Nexus glided out of Zenith Station's hangar bay. Their destination, the treacherous Vakara asteroid field. As they cleared the station's protective bubble, Belos felt a presence at his shoulder. He turned to see Kyla Norris, his new Vidian partner, her angular features set in a perpetual scowl. "I still say this is madness," she muttered, "chasing fairy tales in a junkyard." Benjamin chuckled. "Where's your sense of adventure, Kyla? We're making history here." Before she could retort, a new voice cut in. "Less chatter, more work." Selden Arns, Overseer Raines's appointed watchdog, glared at them from his monitoring station. Belos gritted his teeth, focusing on piloting. The uneasy alliance between humans and Vidians was fragile enough without Arns's constant needling. The journey to the asteroid field was tense, filled with terse exchanges and barely concealed mistrust. When they finally arrived, the sight took Belos's breath away. A vast sea of tumbling rocks stretched before them, punctuated by strange energy flares and ghostly remnants of ancient structures. "Sensors are going haywire," Benjamin reported. "Whatever's out there, it's playing havoc with our systems." Kyla leaned over his console, frowning. "Recalibrate using Vidian frequencies. It might cut through some of the interference." For a moment, Benjamin hesitated, then nodded. "Worth a shot." As they worked, Belos guided the Nexus deeper into the field. Massive chunks of debris loomed in their path, forcing him to execute a series of tight maneuvers. "Watch it!" Arns snapped as a particularly close call sent him stumbling. Belos ignored him, every fiber of his being focused on threading the needle between two colliding asteroids. They emerged on the other side just as a brilliant energy pulse swept through the space they'd occupied seconds before. "Nice flying," Benjamin said, a touch of awe in his voice. Even Kyla seemed impressed. "Not bad, for a grease monkey." Their grudging camaraderie was short-lived. As they rounded a cluster of spinning rocks, they saw it, a massive derelict ship, unlike anything in human or Vidian records. Its hull gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, defying the ravages of time and space. "By the sodality," Kyla breathed. Arns was already barking orders. "Secure that vessel immediately. This could change everything." But as they approached, a shimmering barrier flickered to life around the derelict. The Nexus shuddered, alarms blaring as its systems went haywire. "Pull back," Benjamin yelled. "We're losing power." Belos wrenched the controls, barely managing to break free of the field's influence. As they retreated to a safe distance, a heavy silence fell over the bridge. "Well," Arns demanded, "how do we get past that?" Kyla shook her head. "Nothing in our databases even comes close to this level of technology." Belos stared at the enigmatic ship, his mind racing. An old memory surfaced, whispered conversations in hidden workshops, tales of impossible discoveries. "I might know someone who can help," he said slowly, "but you're not going to like it." All eyes turned to him as Belos outlined his audacious plan. To tap into the knowledge of his old underground network, they would need to undertake a perilous journey to the heart of the Vidian Empire itself. As arguments erupted around him, Belos met Benjamin's gaze. His friend nodded almost imperceptibly. Whatever came next, they would face it together. "Admiral Helios," Belos said, opening a secure channel. "We need to talk." "We need to make an unscheduled stop," Belos said, his voice tight. "The Vidian homeworld." Admiral Helios's eyes widened. "Are you insane? That's suicide." "It's our only chance," Benjamin interjected, supporting his friend. "Belos has contacts there who might help us crack the derelict's defenses." The Admiral's eyebrows furrowed, but she nodded. "Make it quick, and for all our sakes, don't get caught." The Nexus dropped out of hyperspace above a glittering green-blue world. Belos guided them through a series of convoluted maneuvers, evading orbital defenses and slipping into the planet's atmosphere. They touched down in a grimy industrial sector, the ship's cloaking device barely holding. Belos led the team through winding alleys and rusted catwalks, every shadow a potential threat. "My old workshop should be just ahead," Belos whispered. A plasma bolt sizzled past his head. Arns's voice rang out, "Freeze, traitors!" Imperial guards materialized from the shadows, weapons trained on the team. Selden Arns stepped forward, a triumphant sneer on his face. "Did you really think you could waltz onto the homeworld undetected?" He held up a data rod. "And look what I found. Top secret phasing device specs. Tisk, tisk." Belos's heart sank, their careful plans unraveling in an instant. "Run!" Benjamin shouted, hurling a makeshift smoke grenade. Chaos erupted. The team scattered, diving for cover as energy weapons lit up the undercity. Belos caught glimpses of familiar faces in the shadows, old contacts joining the fray. "This way!" a gruff voice called. Tivek, Belos's oldest friend, waved them towards a hidden passage. They sprinted through twisting corridors, the sounds of pursuit growing fainter. Tivek led them to a rickety cargo lift. "It'll take you to the surface," he said, pressing a data chip into Belos's hand. "My research. It might help." Belos clasped his friend's shoulder. "Come with us." Tivek shook his head, his eyes sad but determined. "Someone has to hold them off." The lift doors closed on Tivek's resolute face. Belos felt his throat tighten as they ascended, knowing he'd never see his friend again. They emerged into blinding sunlight, their extraction point visible in the distance. A sleek shuttle waited, engines primed. "Almost there!" Kyla gasped, clutching a bleeding wound in her side. A barrage of fire erupted from behind. Arns had caught up, backed by elite shock troops. "Surrender the data," he bellowed, "or I'll gun you all down where you stand." Benjamin met Belos's eyes, a silent understanding passing between them. He stepped forward, holding out the data rod. "Here," Benjamin said, his voice steady. "Take it." Arns snatched the device, cackling. "Fools, you could have been part of something greater." He waved his troops back, allowing the team to board their shuttle. As they lifted off, Belos saw Arns's face contort in fury. The data rod contained nothing but encrypted insults, their real prize safely hidden. The shuttle broke atmosphere, racing towards their rendezvous point. Belos slumped in his seat, the adrenaline fading. "We made it," he breathed. Benjamin's grim expression stopped him short. "Not all of us." Kyla lay still, her eyes glassy. The wound had been worse than they realized. With her final breath, she grasped Belos's hand. "Don't let this be for nothing," she whispered. "Unite our peoples." As the shuttle docked with their hidden base, Belos felt the weight of all they'd lost and all that was still at stake. The real battle was just beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.